Let me begin by saying that Demon's Souls is easily in my top 10 games ever, so you're about to hear the opinion of someone who loves this game and the rest of the Souls series. In this video, I'm going to try to convince you to try this game, whether or not you've played any Souls games before and how easily you can today. With that being said, let's get right into this. For me, Demon's Souls has one of the best and most unique atmospheres in all of the Souls games. While a game like Bloodborne was more heavy-handed with its tense and foreboding atmosphere, Demon's Souls is more subtle. I would describe its atmosphere as surreal and almost dreamlike. I think the music helps this feeling a lot. For example, the character creation music feels relaxing to listen to, like you're sleeping on a cloud or something, while a song like the prologue theme builds urgency and even a bit of hopelessness. This atmosphere isn't only felt in the music though. Probably the best level to demonstrate this is Latria, specifically the Prison of Hope, where mind flayers roam the halls acting as guards to the many prisoners held within. The level is silent of any music and only has diegetic sounds, such as the ringing of the Mind Flayer's bells and the screams of prisoners trapped in their cells, as well as the singing of the former noble's wife, who sings a sad-sounding song from her cell. Playing this level for the first time put me on edge like no other, and rightfully so, as the Mind Flayers were formidable for me on my first playthrough. The Nexus also has a great atmosphere for me. It brings a sense of peace on the outside world, but also a sort of sadness. The music greatly helps this feeling, as well as the various NPCs you can converse with in this area. As for the story, the prologue cutscene gives a great opening to the story, as you are told the who, what, where, when, and why, as well as giving great foreshadowing for the coming fate of your character. Because I don't want to spoil it, I won't say any more about the story, as I feel it is for you to discover. But it is certainly one you won't forget. In terms of gameplay, this is a game that started off as a Souls-like genre, as Dark Souls was a spiritual successor of this game. The gameplay involves clearing linear levels in 5 different worlds while collecting new armor and weapons as well as demon souls to level up and learn new spells, and miracles from NPCs that you could save from these levels, and bring them back to the hub. The Nexus is the main hub area, with vendors and trainers as well as the archstones that will bring you to the various levels of the 5 worlds. Each level is laid out with an archstone at the start that acts like a checkpoint. Most levels have shortcuts that can be opened later to circumvent having to replay the entire level if you die. The only way to get another checkpoint, however, is to defeat the area boss, which can be difficult to do in one life on your first playthrough. Dying is punished the most heavily in Demon's Souls than in other Souls games, since your health is cut in half if you die in body form, but there are many ways to get your body back to full health. Even being in body form isn't easy mode by any degree, as having a body opens your game up to being invaded by other players, trying to get their body form back. Demon's Souls is a game where having a firm understanding of your limits and how the game works will take you far. Limited stamina and having to pace your attacks and defense might sound annoying at first, but once you get used to it, you understand that, for example, having unlimited stamina for attacking and dodging would break the game. Knowing how many dodges you could get off and how many attacks you can block before you run out can make or break a lot of fights in this game. At the same time, though, it's the easiest Souls game, and a great jumping in point for new players, as healing items are not limited like other games in the series. Since you don't have to play the levels in order, you could jump around every area, playing them through at your own pace, if you hit a wall in one of the other areas. There are several other mechanics in the game that you'll discover, such as the soul form and body forms as I discussed earlier, as well as world tendency and character tendency, which act as sort of a karma system, where your actions can push your character's tendency to white or black, and this affects the game in different ways. For example, which NPCs will want to speak with you and give you quests. I also want to discuss the boss fights, as this is another iconic thing about the Souls games that people bring up a lot. Almost every fight in the game has some sort of gimmick, but there are some that are also just straight fights. For example, a certain boss in the game can't be killed without first getting rid of a mage reviving it. You wouldn't know this on a first playthrough, and it might be frustrating to kill a boss and get told you have to do it again. But maybe you already found the mage and killed him, so you never even saw that scene where the boss gets revived again, as the game tends to reward exploration of the levels pretty heavily. Even if you got to the boss fog without killing the mage, you could still see the message on the floor saying to kill him first. I don't want to spoil the experience too much, but the bosses are definitely a highlight at the end of each of the levels. The multiplayer for the game is also the origin of the unique Souls-style multiplayer, where you can't invite people to play but must find a summon sign from them to play together, or get invaded by a Black Phantom player and fight them. The multiplayer was inspired by an experience who directed the game, Hidetaka Miyazaki, had while driving after a heavy snowfall. He described how while he was driving, a car in front of him slipped on the snow, causing him to stop abruptly, which in turn caused other cars behind him also to stop. After this, each car started to nudge the rest of the line forward to help the person who was stuck in the front. Eventually, they were all free, and Mizaki thought it was fascinating how you could help someone quietly like that without knowing who they were at all, as well as whether he could have been friends with the people who helped him. This gave birth to Demon Souls multiplayer, where players can help or harm each other quietly without much interaction at all. Demon Souls multiplayer is by far the most experimental of all the Souls games multiplayers, and that makes sense since this was the first game in the series. But there's certain things about how Demon Souls multiplayer works that was done first here but usually ignored in favor of the newer entries, like how Demon Souls was the first to have a multiplayer boss, where another player was literally the boss you fought. One thing I almost forgot to mention was the message system, which also started here and has become a huge staple of the series. There's something special about getting hints and advice from other players while you play the game, and not in an outside form. Sometimes these messages are used to mess with other players as well instead of helping them. Of course, the servers for Demon Souls have been down for a while now, but I will discuss next how online play is still possible. On February 28, 2018, the Demon Souls servers shut down for good, and it was no longer possible to play the game online, stripping out a lot of the game's core features. This was a huge blow to the community, and obviously, a lot of people were sad about no longer being able to play the game online. Fortunately, a private server was created by UV in 2019, which allowed online play to once again continue. The server also came with various quality of life updates, such as being able to select the world tendency of the area you are in by placing certain messages. In the vanilla game, in order to change the world tendency, you had to do some very annoying and time-consuming actions, but now you could just switch the tendency to wherever you want as certain events require a certain world tendency to activate. If you wish to play with the vanilla global world tendency, where every player's actions influence the world tendency of the areas they played in, you can also choose to use that system. Another really nice quality of life change that is in newer Souls games is being able to play with people regardless of their level, since normally in most Souls games you could only co-op with people around your level. The server is available to play on the PS3 as well as using RPCS3, a PS3 emulator. If you play on RPCS3, you can also play cross-region, which sadly isn't possible in actual hardware. Now moving on to how you can start playing this amazing game right now. Just download RPCS3 and set it up, which shouldn't take long, and then find a Demon Souls ISO. I can't link one for various reasons, but you know, Google is your friend here. I'll link several helpful things such as a link to the emulator and the private server's website in the description below. I hope that I convince you that this game is worth playing in its own right separate from the remake for various reasons. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. I plan to upload every week going forward, so if you want to support me, I appreciate it a lot. And enjoy the game! If you see my son on the floor, I'll be sure to help you out. See ya.